evening. This is HorseRacingNation.com handicapper Jared Horak with the video feature race of the week. Tonight, Friday, April 29th. Actually, for this week's video, we're going to preview next Saturday's 137th running of the Kentucky Derby. And the first thing I'd like to do is try to unravel the pace scenario. As it looks right now with the 20 horses that are probably going to be going, but there could be some changes since we are still 8 days out. But let's try to break down the pace scenario right now. It looks like Comma to the Top is probably going to be the one that's going to go out and be your pace setter. A Decisive Moment and Shackleford, they're going to be right with Comma to the Top, right up on top of the pace. And we're going to have two tiers of horses sitting right behind those three, led by Uncle Mo, your 2-year-old champion, Mucho Macho Man, Pants on Fire, Soldat. Those horses have good early pressing speed. They're going to be right behind the top three, most likely. Sitting in that second tier of stalkers, Archarcharch, Santa Anita Derby winner, Midnight Interlude, Stay Thirsty, your Gotham Stakes winner, and then Watch Me Go, the winner of the Tampa Bay Derby. Now, those horses are going to be sitting that second tier stalking trip, and then the rest of the field will probably be coming from well off the pace. Dialed In is probably the most well-known horse that's going to be coming from way back. I think he's actually going to be probably sitting 20th. He's going to try to have to pass the whole field. Now, that's a question of is he going to be able to do that? And also, he's your likely favorite right now, and I think he's not going to offer any kind of value. And this group is very tightly matched. Uncle Mo was obviously much quicker than these as a 2-year-old. He's come back to the field this year, and it just looks like the speed ratings, you don't want a horse that's going to have to pass the whole field because they're such an evenly matched group, and Dialed In is going to have to do just that. And he won the Florida Derby. He came from well back, but the final furlong there was 13 and change, a very slow final furlong, and he was all out to beat Shackleford that day. I think 1.25 miles. I don't know that it's going to do him any more favors. Just because he's a late runner doesn't mean he can go another furlong. And just based on the way that he's been running, it looks like he's excellent around one turn. He's got a huge kick. He's able to sustain it nicely. But then when you start to get towards 9 and 10 furlongs, maybe his kick isn't quite as potent. And also the fact that he's going to have to pass 19 horses as the probable favorite. I think he's going to be an underlay in here, and you want to try to beat him. Other horses coming from off the pace, Master of Hounds coming in from Europe. He's making his first dirt start and only his second start this year. Garrett Gomez is going to ride. He's a bit of an enigma. I'm not sure what to do with him. He's your mystery horse, and I just think probably he's not going to be able to get the job done, but at the same time I wouldn't throw him out because this race is wide open and he does have some ability. Nero making his third start in 6 weeks is going to be coming from off the pace. I just think that's too much too soon. He's definitely has some talent. He's still eligible for an entry-level race though, and making that third start in 6 weeks, can he run Cork another top after running well in the Louisiana Derby and the Arkansas Derby? I would bet that he won't be able to do it, and his price is probably going to be low. He looks like the wise guy horse. Santiva, he was one I was high on before. Right now, I'm not as high on him after that Bluegrass Stakes. He had some trouble in there, but really just didn't run his race. He ran well in the Risen Star. That was his career top. And then he regressed in the Bluegrass. You'd like to see him do better that day. He's only had 2 preps. Did he get enough out of those 2 preps? That's going to be the key. I'm going to bet that he didn't, but he did win a stakes race at Churchill Downs as a 2-year-old. He should move forward, moving back to the dirt, but I don't think he's going to be good enough to win, but he could sneak in there in the exotics. You probably want to use him in your trifectas and superfectas. Toby's Corner, I'm not sure he's good enough to get the job done. He did run a good 103 brisk speed rating, and those will be the speed ratings that I'm going to be talking about in this report. He ran a 103 brisk in the Whirlaway Stakes, and then he beat Uncle Mo. That was a good effort coming from off the pace in the Wood Memorial. He's going to again have to come off the pace and pass a lot of horses. I think the pace is going to be honest, but not super fast. I think everybody, if the track plays fair, everybody should have a shot. The horses up on the lead should have a shot, mid-pack types, stalkers, and closers. They should all have a fair chance if we get a fair track. The pace isn't going to be out of hand at all this year with the horses like the Factor not going. But I still think that the stalkers are going to have the edge because they're not going to have the traffic, and somebody sitting a stalking type trip will get the job done this year, I believe. Some other late runners, Twice the Appeal has picked up Calvin Burrell. I think that's going to hurt his odds. He seems to be maybe a cup below these. I don't think Burrell can move him up enough this year. He's going to be coming from off the pace. I don't really like him, but hey, Burrell's won the Derby 3 out of the last 4 years. If you like him, don't let me talk you off of him. Twin-Spired, I definitely liked his effort in the Bluegrass Stakes. Closers dominated that race. He was up on the pace. He only lost by a nose. He's getting better. It's just a question of is he going to be able to handle the dirt. He didn't as a 2-year-old. He's a better horse now. Maybe he can now. Mike Smith's going to ride. Animal Kingdom will round out the late runners. This horse has never run on dirt, actually never trained on dirt. He's going to have his first dirt workout at Churchill this weekend to get a gauge of if he'll like it. He's bred for synthetic and turf, not for dirt at all. I expect that he's going to regress moving to the main track. Maybe he's going to, I don't know what kind of money he's going to end up taking, but I really think he's a synthetic turf type horse. Now, after we've broken down the scenario, we've talked about the contenders now and all basically the whole field. This is an evenly matched group. As I mentioned, I'm going to go with a stalking type. I think a stalker is going to win this year. They're going to have the advantage of not being in the traffic. And in a group that's so tightly matched, you want to have horses that have a decent pedigree, training well right now, and have the ability to stay out of trouble. I think that's going to be the key to success this year. And at this point, my top choice is going to be Soldat. I thought that was not a good effort at all in the Florida Derby. It was surprising. He had an advantageous post, good early pressing speed, never fired that day. But there were a few horses that really just didn't run their race in the Florida Derby for whatever reason. So I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt, because if you look at his brisk ratings, his prior 2 races to the Florida Derby, he ended up running a 1:08 in the slop at Gulfstream in a mile and an eighth, and then he had a 1:04 in the Fountain of Youth. So he's definitely quick enough. He's got that good early pressing speed. Seems to be training well. He's had 2 solid works since not running well in the Florida Derby, and I think he can go much better in the Kentucky Derby. If he runs anywhere near his other 2 races this year, a definite threat to win this race, and he's probably going to offer some good value. I would expect he's going to be at least higher than 10-1. He's playable. Another horse that's playable, Mucho Macho Man. He's had 3 races this year. He ran a 101 brisk rating in the Remsen Stakes last year. He's been in the upper 90s in all 3 races this year. Good solid efforts. He had some trouble, threw a shoe in the Louisiana Derby. He's had 6 weeks to recover from that. He's training well. I like his long gallops. He's galloping a couple miles. Also, his workouts have been at 7 furlongs, so they're definitely trying to build up his stamina. He might have that good combination of tactical speed and stamina. He could be dangerous. He's going to offer some value. And also, he's younger. I think he's going to turn 3 a little bit later on than the other horses, and I think that he has a definite shot. He's going to offer some value as well, as I mentioned. Pants on Fire, I don't think he's going to be good enough. He's going to be up on the pace, but I just think he's kind of a slower speed horse, and if the pace is a little bit quicker than it was in the Louisiana Derby, which it should be, I think he's not just going to have that kick in the stretch. Horses sitting that second-tier stalking trip that are contenders. Archarcharch, he's in very good form right now. He won the Arkansas Derby. He's training well. He had a strong bullet workout earlier today at Churchill. He seems to be coming up to the race in good order. He has everything. He has the breeding. He's working well, as I mentioned, and he has that versatile running style where he doesn't have to come from nowhere, and that good grinding finish, and I think he's a top 3 threat for sure. A Midnight Interlude I don't like for trainer Bob Baffert. Unraced 2-year-old. I thought that the Santa Anita Derby was watered down. They had a couple scratches. Horses that ended up getting injured. The 2 favorites, actually, they ended up not running in that race, Premier Pegasus and Jay Cito. That was a watered-down race. He was all out to beat Comet to the Top. Comet to the Top has distance limitations, and I think Midnight Interlude, just at this stage in his career, isn't good enough to win a race of this caliber. A few other stalkers. Stay Thirsty. Now, Stay Thirsty was my original top choice in the Kentucky Derby. That was back in last September when I did my first 2011 Kentucky Derby top 10 for Horse Racing Nation, and in that one, I did have Stay Thirsty as my number 1. But I think he has run well enough. He did win the Gotham Stakes, and that was his career top coming off the layoff. But then he regressed in the Florida Derby, putting blinkers on. And even if you go back to the Gotham, he didn't change leads on cue. He lugged in the stretch. That was kind of what he had been doing as a 2-year-old. So I don't think he's mature enough to win the Kentucky Derby right now. I like his pedigree. I've always been high on him. But I just don't think he's good enough right now. Maybe later this year he's going to mature and become a better horse. But I don't like him in this race. Watch Me Go is another horse that has enough tactical speed to work out a decent trip. He's just not good enough. The Tampa Bay Derby was weak, and he didn't run well in the Illinois Derby. He's one you want to toss out. As I mentioned, Dialed In, definitely worth trying to beat. He's going to be coming from nowhere. Maybe a horse that you want to throw in your exotics, Twinspire. As I mentioned, excellent effort in the Bluegrass Stakes. In that Bluegrass, as I said, the pace of the horses on the pace all folded except Twinspire. He was right there throughout, missed by a nose. Now, if he can handle dirt this time, he didn't in his first race that he tried dirt late last year. But now I think he's in better form coming off that good effort. If he's ever going to handle dirt, maybe this will be the time when he's in good form, and he's going to sit. Probably a late type trip. But since he is coming off synthetic, they were slower paced races. He'll be coming from the back. But I think he can grab a piece under Mike Smith, one that you definitely can use in your trifectas and superfectas. So as it stands right now, 8 days out, my top choice is going to be Soldat. My second choice will be Mucho Macho Man. My third choice in the Derby is going to be Twin Inspired. Now, again, I said there's still 8 days, so you want to definitely see the post position draw and some other workouts coming up before you make up your mind on this group, very evenly matched group. But as I said, right now, Soldat will be my top choice, unless he draws the rail. Like looking at Lucky last year was my top choice, and he was virtually eliminated, shuffled back, and was never able to run his race. So whoever draws the rail, if one of those major contenders draw the rail, definitely push them back in your ratings, because I don't think they're going to be able to overcome it. There's not a horse that's dominant enough to overcome anything. Uncle Mo was probably the closest one to that. He can run some big brisk ratings of 2 110s as a 2-year-old and a 102, but this year he's only run a 96 and a 95 brisk number. He only had that one turn prep to start his year, and then in the Timely Rider, and then after that in the Wood Memorial, he weakened to finish third. He came out of that race with a GI tract infection. He missed some training time. Now he's back on schedule, but his breeding was suspect. Maybe he wasn't going to be able to handle a mile and a quarter, even if everything went perfectly. It didn't go perfectly this winter for Uncle Mo, and now there's a big question of whether he's going to be fit enough off of one turn race, and then that 9 furlong race in the Wood Memorial in which he weakened, and then he had the GI tract infection and missed training time. You put all that together, he's probably going to be an underlay in here. So if you want to go over to horseracing.nation.com, if you want to see the best Kentucky Derby product out there, the Kentucky Derby Super Screener from Mike Schutte. Mike Schutte has over 20 years of experience in the Kentucky Derby. He's definitely a Derby expert, and that's probably the best product on the internet if you want to break down the Kentucky Derby. He's going to have full coverage on that product. So you come over to horseracing.nation.com to learn more about the Kentucky Derby Super Screener for 2011. And that'll wrap up this week's video race of the week. This is horseracing.nation.com handicapper Jared Horak. Good luck at the races.